Hello class, my name is Dulce, and today I'm going to be discussing the importance of listening as discussed in chapter 5. The main purpose of listening is to help us collaborate with others, as said in the book. We practice listening through our jobs, friendships, relationships, as well as in our everyday life. Listening can be done not only with our ears, but in many other ways, like verbal cues, emotional responses, physical responses, body language. It just depends on us and our interpretations. Listening has different parts to it, like by selection, being attentive, and understanding what you're listening to. So, selection means when you are listening to somebody, but you only listen to some of the things that they're saying, and the rest it just doesn't interest you, or whatever the reason, but you just don't remember it. So being attentive means if it interests you, you're listening to everything they're saying, you know how to respond, you're kind of just collaborating and just keep the conversation going. First part of listening would be by selection, which means you take bits and parts of information from the environment and select what we want to listen to, allowing us to communicate more effectively. For instance, you're walking down the street with lots of distractions like traffic, birds, people, and you receive a phone call and answer that call and have a conversation. Then you block out majority of the surrounding noises, and it allows you to focus to the phone call, so to understand the phone call. So that would be an example of selective listening. Another important aspect of listening is being attentive. The second, meaning it's able to keep not only our attention but our interest. Just like when people stop you down the street or wherever you are, the gym, school. If you don't have an interest in what they're saying, your attention span is it's gonna go away. You're just kind of like nodding, smiling, yeah, but you're not really listening to what they're saying because you don't have an interest. Listening also comes with understanding. You have to be able to understand what you're listening to, the person you're listening to be able to respond back the right way, which can be very difficult for many people. A lot of the time we hear people go on, and we listen and do our best to be attentive with the information provided by them, but sadly many of us fail to receive the message being provided, which means if somebody's telling us something at school, you have something going on at home, you're not able to listen completely. You're physically there, but mentally you're not there, so you don't really pay attention. You're just looking at the professor, but not really understanding what he's saying, or the topics he's discussing. So example of that would be engaging in, let's say, a debate, maybe school, friendships, things like that. You can clearly recall information provided at an earlier part of the conversation. Sometimes you can, if you remember correctly, you can respond, with a good comeback or a good response and make your point. But sometimes you just forget because it was something out of the moment, and you clearly have no interest. So all of this information combined is crucial to effective listening. To listen is to learn, and with learning comes knowledge, and with knowledge comes power. Well, self-power. Many of us lack these communication skills, mostly because we just don't have deep thoughts about many things. We just kind of go day by day, don't really pay much attention to most of this stuff, or the stuff people talk about. They're just kind of to themselves, which is nothing wrong. Which there's nothing wrong with that. Most conflicts could easily be resolved if effective, proper communication was involved. Sometimes, if you ask, if somebody responds to you in not a negative way, but in a plain way, some people might take it offensive, and that's where another person escalates it or allows them to, it gets them bothered and upset. And sometimes it doesn't require that. Some people just have different voices, I guess. A great way to practice communication is by simply talking to people. Like new people, even if it's at school, just introducing yourself, just making new friends, new relationships. People that have different cultures and different races, different age groups especially. But just getting to know the world and the people around you helps you listen more effectively and just be a better listener, I think. To understand what you're being told and to acknowledge it, it helps to break down and really get a feel for the message being conveyed to you. An example would be if you ask a person, a friend, maybe a partner, if they're okay, and they'll just say, I'm okay. But usually you can tell by their gestures that they're not okay. So if you really care, you're gonna ask what, beyond that. So to try to get to the bottom of what they're feeling, just to make them feel okay. Someone who understands can clearly tell the person is either lying or doesn't feel up to the conversation. Maybe they're just having a bad day, or they just really don't want to talk about it. And it happens. On the other hand, someone who doesn't understand will simply take the answer for what it is and nothing more. Meaning someone simply makes a statement using words that you may not be familiar with, and leaves you clueless to what you just heard. So you can, just like what I said, you ask beyond I'm okay if you care. If you don't, well, you're just being polite and asking the questions, which is completely normal as well. Also, remembering and responding is very important in listening. These concepts I feel go hand in hand, meaning you can remember details of different communication. It allows you to then apply the correct response.